see they're not together, right? Why do you think that is? Might be learning about it in school, possibly.
See that?
Chocolate and speed.
Okay. So, have you heard the term segregation?
Yeah.
That's what this is. So this is the 50s in Atlanta. So these are all images of white folks over here. And why do you think it doesn't say black? It doesn't say black, it doesn't say African American. And I'm asking some big questions as well.
No, it's good. I haven't fully learned about it.
She's not quite sure yet.
Not sure, that's okay. So we were called colored. This is a derogatory term now. So it's not something you probably want to be called now. So that's what we were called then. And we were separated because of Jim Crow laws you're going to learn about that wanted white people and black people to be separate. And when they came together, this is what happened. So if you turn around and look up on the ceiling, you're going to see some graphic images of cross burnings, of lynches, car bombings.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So we're gonna learn about a lot of stuff. Also, look at these TVs here. You think they have remotes? So what you have to do if you didn't have a remote? Or you had to literally get up off the couch and turn the knob. And that's how you're gonna hear about some of these people who didn't want us to be together. Okay? Thank y'all for coming.
Thank you. That's good.
Hi, Batman. Welcome. As you see, you're walking through a parallel life. In Atlanta. These are all Atlanta.
Mississippi, good. We could change the time.
Anybody else, go out a white one or black one or red-headed one or bald-headed. It doesn't make any difference. In the name of the greatest
George Wallace.
that have ever trod this earth, I draw the line.
Yeah, he was a pure racist.
I
think
I say segregation now.
segregation forever. Segregation forever.
Let us send this message back to Washington. While the representatives who are here with us today, and from this position we are standing up, and they hear the chair that does not fit the neck of an upright man, that we intend to take the offensive and carry our fight for freedom across this nation, wielding the balance of power we know we possess in the Southland, that we, not the independent block voters of some sections, will determine in the next election in the
These reports were cited in footnote 11 of the Supreme Court's eventual decision. Despite many questions and many ignorance to replace scientific segregation that is sanctioned by law.
Is this geographically correct?
This is correct, but this map itself was kind of created in this regulation. So some streets may be off
Now you get at the corner is that Dover Street.
I think that's the same.
Okay, it's hard for me to geographically figure this out because everything has a different name.
Yeah, no. Someone was just earlier asking about where's the highway? Because it's around this area where you would get on the exit.
Yeah.
It's kind of difficult to see what this happening.
Yeah. And then, so I know Ford has another name now also. Auburn's the same.
Auburn's the same.
Yeah.
And also it looks a little different.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it's hard to figure out. I don't know. Does Butler Street Baptist Church on this map anywhere or wherever you have it? No? Okay. Maybe I should. I think I will.
Of course, at the time, this was another Black Wall Street. It just didn't get as much national acclaim as, say, Tulsa.
Significantly exposed the disparities in equity effects.
Am I here with?
Mm-hmm.
It talks about spelling. See, like, these they couldn't arrest the white man. We could easily be in this room all day.
Yeah.
Come on, let's go.
Just listening.
Purchased 4 dogs in a local fight and dine store. They were darkness and were identical, except 2 were white and 2 were black. The Clarks began to use the dogs in their studies. They worked with school children aged 3 to 7 in the segregated South and the integrated North. Among their results, they found positive characteristics were most often attributed to the white dogs. In 1950, Dr. Keith Clark wrote a report for the White House Mid-Century Conference on Youth. Robert Carter, one of the NAACP lawyers, read, inspired, and Thurgood Marshall asked the Clarks to join their team. Intent on overturning Plessy versus Ferguson, the separate but equal doctrine established in 1886 that allowed the segregation of public schools. 5 lower court cases were handpicked to bring before the Supreme Court. These 5 cases became known collectively as Brown versus Board of Education. Dr. Clark was sent to South Carolina to conduct studies and testify in Riggs versus Elliott. These reports were cited in footnote 11.
We can come back to him. I just explained to him who Emmett Till.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Because we have a book about it. Exactly. No, she is.
Located just 2 blocks from Ebenezer Baptist Church where he preached, over 700 of his parishioners were Puerto Ricans. The workers sought wages, unionization, and an end to racial.
So he looked at me and I looked at him, and we proceeded to go into the terminal.
They took them into corridors and alleys and began beating them, began hitting them with lead pipes and with key rings and with their fists. They knocked one man, a white man, down at my feet, and they beat him and kicked him until his face was a bloody red pulp. The police did not arrive at this scene until 10 minutes late, when these men had, as if on signal, dispersed and had gone further down the street, where I saw some of them discussing their achievement of the day right under the windows of the police commissioner's office.
If it gets to be too much, you can.
I hope that these agitators outside of this state who are seeking to come here will stay at home and mind their own business.
If men like Governor Patterson and Governor Barnett of Mississippi and also Governor Davis of Louisiana would carry out the good oath of their office, then citizens will be able to travel in this country, and then people in Tel Aviv and Moscow and in London will not pick up their newspaper for breakfast and realize that America is not living into the dream of liberty and justice for us.
The Freedom Riders were marooned in Birmingham after bus drivers refused to transport them any further.
I have very mixed feelings. I've learned to be afraid overnight. I was no longer this fearless rider. I was no longer so interested in dying for the cause. I appreciated being alive.
Hurried negotiations between Birmingham officials, Attorney General Robert Kennedy, and his on-the-scene representative John Siegenthaler arranged for the riders to continue to New Orleans by plane. But any thoughts by Kennedy or Birmingham that the Freedom Rides might end was short-lived. 3 days later, a new group of students from colleges in Nashville arrived at Birmingham. After failing to secure bus passage to Montgomery, they were arrested by Police Commissioner Bull Connor and driven back to the Tennessee border late Thursday night. They vowed they would return, and within a day they did. Governor Patterson assured John Siegenthaler that Alabama's Highway Patrol would protect the Freedom Riders, but Governor Patterson's promises soon proved illusory. When the buses arrived in Montgomery, they were met by a mob. Before police could break up the crowd, at least 20 people had been beaten and injured.
One of the riders, a white student, was banged up pretty badly. 2 other students were hurt. And in trying to rescue a white girl member of the group, an aide to Attorney General Robert Kennedy, John Siegenthaler, was knocked out.
The next day, Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., Reverend Fred Shuttlesworth, and James Farmer, the National Director of CORE, arrived in Montgomery for an evening service honoring the Freedom Riders. Gathered in the First Baptist Church, over 1,500 supporters were soon surrounded by a mob of 3,000 who bombarded the building with rocks and bottles and burned cars. Reverend King was on the telephone with Robert Kennedy, entreating him to take action to protect those in the church. Kennedy was simultaneously urging Governor Patterson to disperse the mob.
In this situation, I want to make this announcement that the city is now under martial law and troops are on the way into Montgomery.
The violence was quelled, and under pressure from Washington, the governors of Alabama and Mississippi both agreed to have state police and the National Guard protect the Freedom Riders. On Wednesday morning, May 24th, state police and National Guardsmen escorted a dozen Freedom Riders from Montgomery to Jackson, Mississippi. Upon arriving in Jackson, the riders attempted to use the white-only facilities and were immediately arrested. Many were sent to Mississippi's infamous Parchman Penitentiary. Refusing bail, the movement called for more volunteers to come to Jackson to be arrested. Over the next 4 months, Freedom Riders came to Jackson by bus, plane, and train. By the end of the summer of 1961, over 430 Freedom Riders from all over the United States had been arrested.
No matter what happens, we're dedicated to this. We'll take hitting, we'll take beating. We're willing to accept death. But we're going to keep coming until we can ride for anywhere in the South, any place else in the South.
Oh. Oh, wow. That's interesting.
If you executed the march from the Washington Memorial, you have already told the world what we are here for and shown them by your courage, determination, and your order that we mean business.
You probably heard about the people else who are presently missing in Mississippi.
Project Director Eugene, a local staff member Andy, who's volunteered all the way to one of the rougher rural counties to see about a church that was going on campus. They said they'd be back by 4 and it's coming on 10. The mood up there is, of course, very strange because 2 guys who disappeared. Don't expect it.
I ate dinner with the wife of one of them. She was telling me about all the great things that she and her husband were working on.
As we sang, we always have thought of our 3 hero wedding this summer in Mississippi. I'm proud. I'm inside out.
There may be more people killed this summer, but that won't deter us from what we are trying to do.
My question, why they don't talk about the one that survived?
They never talk about it.
Why? That makes no sense.
But they never talk about it. That's her sister. So Addie Mae and Sarah was her sister. Sarah's the one that survived.
It was 5 of them, not just 4.
That's all they talk about is 4.
Some very sad news for all of you.
Dr. King was standing in the balcony of the second floor hotel room tonight when, according to a companion, a shot was fired from across the street.
Martin Luther King was shot and was killed tonight.
In a friend's words, the bullet exploded in his face. The face of issue off Point Bolton for a well-dressed white man.
Oh, get him up, make him walk the steps.
Fired on the radio of a car containing 2 white men.
I'm sorry.
I'll leave the word to you. Many of you around, when I have to leave my day, I don't know the long. And if you get somebody to deliver the unity, tell them not to talk. Every now and then I wonder what I want to say. I'm not going to have a Nobel Peace Prize. That is important. Not to mention that I have 300 or 400 other awards. Like somebody mentioned that day. And Martin Luther King
she could do her job as a journalist. They started to arrest it and to arrest the certain activists who were involved to create context for the I spent 2 months in solitary confinement and all these 2 months I was under heavy interrogation, torture, physical torture, psychological torture, and
Hi, my name is Nina, and I'm
they
from Iran.
made for me, they
And
made for me
Iran
actually